Good morning to everyone. Uh, I think we should start now. So we are going to discuss about 5G and the Internet of Things and artificial intelligence, those technologies which are already being rolled out or are being used, how it is going to change the lives of people living in the rural area, especially doing agriculture, health, education, how it is going to change the lives of the people, and what technology can play a role in bridging this, improving the lives of the people living in the rural area. But before I start, I should first ask every panelist here that when we say rural, what the rural is, because by the definition of the government, it is only about people, a place where less than 5,000 people who are living in a place that's known as a rural area. So I just wanted to understand what the rural is, and then we'll take it forward. So you can start from my left to the extreme right.
Thanks, Bhavesh. I'm Bharat Patil. So, Bhavesh, rural means, I think you are in the context of infrastructure and the development. But with changing dynamics, I would say rural, we can have a parameter included as the ease of living. Okay, so currently, if I say, okay, the earlier definition would be the population density or infrastructure. But with currently, I can give you example for this. So earlier when I was like 15 years back, so rural and city difference was power cuts. In cities, you don't have power cuts. So 24/7 electricity is there. In rural, if you go, there is 2-day power cut or 3-day power cut. So when we need to have the parameters change for the rural. So ease of living, accessibility, affordability, and the easy to earn, that can be included.
I kind of agree with Bharat. My name is Jobin. So I think we need to move away from the definition of rural that currently is there, which is 5,000 people and etc. Because when we talk about rural, I think our focus now needs to move away from that into access to infrastructure. For example, when you're in the city, everybody is moving to the city because there's more Wi-Fi, there are more jobs, there are more hospitals, etc. And that is a very important parameter because cities are also dying under that load. And that is primarily calling out that fundamental flaw that we have, that our definition is outdated. Okay, because if we were to change our definitions, then the focus will be more in terms of helping build more Wi-Fi network, 5G network in rural areas, which means farmers will get better access to some of this infrastructure, and therefore our productivity in agriculture also will improve. More jobs will get created, more hospitals, so lifestyle will become better. I think that therefore changing that definition is very important from population and density of population to availability of facilities and access to infrastructure.
Hi, I'm Kartikeya Sarabhai, and it's as my colleagues have said, it's a changing pattern on what a village is or rural is. But I personally would like to go more towards a land-based definition of most of the jobs being based on agriculture, livestock, or supporting of agriculture, which is the nature of work. And I think that the mindset of children, when they say we want to go to urban areas, it is not only in terms of certain facilities, it's also the thinking that there is a status issue. I have argued a lot with a child of a potter, for instance, in a village, who was earning at that time, say 3,000 or something. And his child wanted to be a peon in a city for 300. And he said, what type of education are you giving it that they think that this is worse than that? So there's also a sort of status issue. Urban areas somehow change your lifestyle and things. And I think that needs to be what we need to address.
Yeah, thank you. Myself, Tejas Vaghela. I am from System Level Solutions. Background having a semiconductor and defense industry, but as a professional, I am a farmer. Like from a family background, I am from a farmer, coming from a very small village from the North Gujarat. So if I'll say about the rural India, lot of things has been done by the government. Like they have provided the internet access, they have provided the lights. I'm talking about the Gujarat only. Outside of the Gujarat, still there is a issues with the all these amenities, or you should say the resources. So now, first of all, I'm not talking from the government's perspective, but what the rural people has to change their mind, which is again the social economic impact. Like they should be a little bit more from illiterate to the literate. They need to come to the literate stage. They also need to think that what are the pain points to live in the rural area in terms of getting the availability of the resources. Need to find the ways from where they can get the stuffs from the governments or from the private sectors. As he rightly mentioned, that creating the status from going into the urban area, it is always better to creating the status by developing something into the rural. And the checkbox or the check marks from our sides not should be onto the population side, but that should be from the gap to result oriented analysis has to be done into the from the rural India perspective. And maybe that helps that we can define or redefine the definitions and work more onto the kind of entrepreneurship work approach towards the rural youth. Because providing the 5G, normally what they are just doing the social media. So using that, providing the technology will not solve the problem, but the motivations and the kind of platforms which is now been pushed by the lot of NGOs and the governments into the rural area plays a huge role. And I think we should also need to change the criteria of managing the rural from populations and more towards onto the resources side. Yeah, thank you.
So in that case, I will come to the second question. It is again to all the panelists. See, we are ultimately talking about a human's life cycle, and he has, other than the economic needs or economic activities, he also had some needs, like say education of the children, like the health facilities to take care of the things, probably better infrastructure in terms of the sanitation and things like that. So physically, we have been able to improve a lot from where we are. But do you think that technology is going to play a very important role in building this infrastructure as far as the education and health is concerned?
Bhavesh, I agree with you. So technology is the key now. So if we say we have 1.4 billion people in India, and connecting those people with the latest things, latest innovations, latest why I choose urban, I would say. So why I live in Mumbai. I would say the reliability. I will again come to that point. So here in Mumbai, there is a internet reliability. There's a power there. There's infrastructure, transport, everything. So in rural, yes, we have almost had a wonderful last 25 years. The infrastructure has improved, mobility has improved. We have mobiles in each and every hand of the population of India. But the reliability we are missing in rural area. So when I go to my hometown, so I feel I can go there and can work, because internet is, yes, I can trust the internet, but if I in a important meeting, internet might go. So reliability is the key thing. Of course, technology is there, and with current technologies in next 5 years, 10 years, I would say it will improve further. And so we have to work on that.
I feel that technology is going to play a very critical role, and here also it's like a paradox, right? Because adopting technology, there's a cost to it. Therefore, people will not be very open to quickly adopting. Therefore, I think we should move to an era where there's a lot of rural public infrastructure, digital public infrastructure, RDPIs, right? For example, when we go to major cities, when we go to major airports, we have free Wi-Fi that is available. If the similar kind of facilities are available in rural, this one, with 5G and with IoT, there is a lot of access to information that is coming up. But for that, there has to be a base layer. And I think as we have to, as a country, start thinking on those lines. So that if there is free Wi-Fi, then the local Anganwadi worker is more enabled to understand what's going on in the village. The farmer has more access to data. Therefore, he will know what is going on from a weather, from a crop, from his neighborhood in terms of pestilence, and therefore we'll be able to quickly respond to some of that. So therefore, I think we have to move towards an era of rural digital public infrastructure that will enable technology to get more accessible to people, as today everybody has a smartphone, but in a rural, because of infrastructure, they cannot leverage it as much as we do in cities. So I think that is a direction that I see that we should kind of move towards, or we are moving towards.
I think there's no doubt that technology is a huge game changer. And 5G, especially, which is the particular topic of this workshop. You mentioned how that impacts education, which it of course does. But I think we must realize the reverse also, that unless you have a good education, and I don't mean only formal school education, but unless the farmers are made aware and trained in how to use that internet or how to use this new facilities which are available, you won't get the maximum out of it. So just infrastructure without the software, if you like, or without the training and ability to use it, and the apps and other things which are now coming up in major ways, I think we'll miss an opportunity. And I think the challenge for us, all of us here, and many others, is that we are at a time when you cannot expect technology coming in so fast and so much. I mean, it's something which you would normally expect every 20 years, now happens every month, perhaps. And with that rate of change, the opportunities go up. You are in a country where the leadership is wanting you to do that change. We are in a hurry, as we should be. And there is this whole transformative revolution which is there. So the whole purpose of a workshop like this, and all of us, is the challenge: can we really work it out which is relevant to India? You will get a lot of things which are solutions which are coming from abroad, which may not be relevant to us at all. And you might start using the internet in that way. Now, we have, the space program was one example of that, where we said the initial years, we used it for connectivity. And I remember in those days that when you said you could connect to a village which didn't have a road, people didn't believe you. They said, what nonsense, you're talking about. So can India take this opportunity? And that's why this workshop and this whole meeting is very important. And really see that we are in for a fantastic next 10 years, I think. And as we go towards Viksit Bharat, there's an opportunity, provided we can get people, farmers themselves, to participate in what is that village I want? How do I want to use my internet? In some countries, for instance, they're banning children using it. In some countries, they're doing something else. What is it that we want to do? Because we have a culture which is very deep, even though there might be illiterate people, they know a lot. And maybe now through the voice modulation, many of them can do it. We were discussing at coffee that people use their own children to say, when I ask them some question, I puchi na uchu. They go to their kid and the kid will operate it and then they come back, but they still know how to get a solution. So that's something.
Yeah, definitely technology will play a very important role. But from my perspective, technology is just a platform. Unless and until you are not working towards these solutions, nothing going to be changed. And solutions can be nothing but it's a small need or challenges which the village is at village level people are facing. So I'll give a simple example. I did one of the executions in the Bangalore, and that the area is the Tumkul Hills. In the Tumkul Hills, we have set up the free Wi-Fi zone, which is publicly available for the rural area. So we went there and we have just taken the lease from the Airtel for that connectivity, and then we have provided the free Wi-Fi through the mesh technology to that particular villages. And that is not just to use for the mobile. No, that entire traffic's been controlled by the rural village officer, kind of a pseudo post, that makes sure that how people are not using the technology in a time pass way and all those things, but they use more onto the improvising the health of the rural, improvising the agriculture side of the stuff, and the education. And then we have implemented the PM Vani in those particular areas, and the IoT sensors as well, which just keep track of your land activities and all those things. So yes, technology plays a huge role, but the solutions is again we need to create. And I feel that, and I suggest to all the startups, like they should
focus more onto the rural challenges where they can see a lot of potentials. And once you success the one kind of problem statement, it's just multiplications. Like in urban, it's not going to work that way. But in a rural, if you solve the single problems, that multiplies across the country. So use the technology as a platform, but try to build the solution.
And then in that case, you should also start thinking about, because ultimately you are going to use the technology, and technology is going to be very dynamic, challenging, and it's going to be very fastly emerging, very promptly emerging over the years. But India is a unique case because health, education, agriculture, primary education, all this all comes under the domain of the state government. And the union government is talking about the higher education, what type of airways or the spectrum we are going to use, what type of technology which is going to be used. As sir has already said, that whether you can use all the technology, whether you can access all the data or not, the way Australian government banned the net for the teenagers. So, Kartikeya bhai, how are we going to, what are the challenges we are going to face as far as the state and union government dynamics are concerned? And I'm also going to ask the same question to Bharat bhai, how, because he's ultimately going to.
So as you rightly said, Bhavesh bhai, ki, the state and the central government has to play a very big role in this. As you said, ki, technology is available, people are available. So what I feel is missing is the single source of, I would say, truth, or say platform. Truth in the sense, the flow of information, and the platform will enable that flow of information to go to the end citizen or end students, farmers, or anyone. So let's take an example of education. Okay, so in education, state government putting lot of efforts. Their teachers are very good, but what I see in smart classes, this is one of the things which are going in last 10 years or 15 years. Ki, let's do a smart class project in the school. But we see different courses are getting differently customized. But there is no single thing or single, let's suppose it's like any good educational brand. Okay. So if you go to their school in Mumbai or you go to their school in Pune, you will have a same thing or same kind of teaching is there. So state government and central government has to come up with a platform or with KPIs, KRIs that can have a similar type of education across state or across India. That will, of course, there are boards, but boards are giving only the educational content in printing format. So for the digital thing, they should come with a digital platform. So that will help. Surely, same with healthcare also. So we have a good amount of expenditure from central state. But what I see, the kind of facilities or say kind of services they have given, they has to be similar. Suppose some UHP at Mumbai or at some Ahmedabad will provide a good service. The same UHP, UHP means the urban health centers or have a different name in Gujarat. With a remote village have some different things. So it has to be have same platform, same services, same KPIs, and that will solve a lot of problems. Kartikeya.
I have a slightly different view on this word "same." Let me say to both of you. You see, India is an extremely diverse country, and that's the power of it, geographically, language-wise, culture-wise, many other differences. You want the same quality, but not necessarily the same thing. The solution is not, I mean, in fact, all of us in this room and all the chimpanzees outside there have 99.9% the same DNA structure, so it is the same, but that little difference makes us all feel we are all individualistic, right? So how do you have something which is of high quality? And I am just involved exactly in this exercise because we are writing the NCERT textbooks. Now the NCERT textbooks will go to all CBSE schools, but several state governments have taken it that they will adapt that. They might change the example or something. And if they provide leadership, there are also states which politically or otherwise say we will not use this textbook. But there also, if you really show that what you're doing is of excellence, then it will happen. Now, there are many models which are also coming out from state governments which need to go national or need to spread. So innovation is not restricted to any any one place. Things are happening in India in a very dynamic way, and the whole thing is therefore to adapt to your conditions, to your state. So you come up with an innovation we are working in Karnataka, for instance, in the climate, state level climate action there. But there are many innovations which need to be changed if they have to work in Gujarat. It's not the same. So I'm taking it that my colleagues, when they use the word same, we mean the same level of quality, but not necessarily the same form, because they will need to be locally adapted. If that, especially in rural areas, your crops are different, your soil is different, your water pattern, your monsoon is different. So there, and your electricity supply is different. Some places we can be very reliable here, and elsewhere you're not. So that's I think.
In agreement with you, sir, it's quality, which I mentioned as the same. Because we have a diverse country, so every 2 kilometers the language changes or dialect changes. So we can't have everything same pattern for everyone. As you rightly said, sir, quality is the thing. Quality should be everywhere.
and especially agricultural advice
Yes. Yes.
will be there. But we also have to think how the reverse, that is local knowledge, going up. In fact, we have just now been given a government project for very much that. How do we capture the Indian knowledge system, IKS as it's called? How do we capture that? Because it's so rich, and it was forgotten during many years, but it is so rich that how do we capture it for local solutions, and give respect for people who might be illiterate but really know how to solve that problem.
So can you use this IKS using these technologies and make it a larger solution for the people of the country? Is it possible, or it is at the moment it is just the project you are being?
No. The whole idea is that there are ideas there in India which were very sound ideas. For instance, in Kashmir, when the earthquake happened, we sent teams from here, and we found that under the living room there was another living room-like room where they kept all the cattle, the goats and sheep actually. And we said, why is this? They said, so that the heat is not dissipated, but it warms the room above. Now that type of heat balance in a household was not part of the School of Architecture training here, but it needs to be. Now it comes back from the West in a different way. In the West, they used to look at protein absorption individually. So protein absorption in rice, in dal, in this and that, etc. And it is not as much as milk and meat. Then someone had the bright idea that suppose I use combos. So I use a rice and dal combo, and your protein absorption goes up because of the matching amino acids. So after this great research, they did come up with a solution that rice should be eaten with dal. Now, of course, we have known it for some time, but now there is a scientific reason why it happens. So there are those types of... Now, Mexico also uses rice and protein together. They eat beans and rice. So there are many, many, many things which are there, which change shape. The whole thing about not throwing away something but transferring it. Now, therefore, now there's an internet solution. And in fact, one of the Bangalore companies called me to say that isn't this a traditional Indian thing? I'm doing it through the net. But we used to do it in the village. We used to be able to exchange it. Now I'm doing it through the internet, but it is there. So I think the challenge again is for us to take the core of that wisdom and not the outer form of it, and see how we can put it into shape into a very modern 5G context.
So in terms of the technology is available, it is accessible also. Probably I don't know about the affordability. The experts will be better persons to tell me. In terms of these three, accessible, available, and affordability, Tejas bhai, how far we stand at the moment? I'll also ask the same question to Jacob sir.
Yes. So basically, if you talk about the three availability, which the first thing, then the accessibility and the affordability. So if you see from the technological perspective, if I'll talk about the 5G, if I'll talk about the IoT, if I'll talk about the few a basic need of resources to the village level, yes, we have achieved so far a very good milestones. Like we have the availability of this kind of resources into the village. Yes, affordability is also now nowadays becoming more possible, because see, India is a huge country, and now after Make in India concept, the governments and the private sectors are also pushing a lot of manufacturing within the country. So after providing after the availability, the affordability is also becoming there up to the halfway. But the main issue is accessibility. If I'll give you the idea onto the PHC center, so the availability is there inside the rural area PHC. The affordability of setting the PHC with the technology is possible, like telemedicine is that is also possible. But is there any accessibility available? Right, so there are cluster of villages, and they have to go to the PHC, but that accessibility is not there. Like I mean, in terms of the logistic, I mean, in terms of the availability of resource in that particular PHC centers. So in a single sentence, I said yes, availability we achieved good, affordability we achieved halfway, but now we need to work more on the accessibility by this kind of technologies, and make sure like how we can improvise in the next 5 years.
So from these three A's that we spoke about, there's a lot of things happening on the ground, and it's happening at a rapid pace. So for example, a lot of governments are going ahead and creating different stacks.
Yeah, you're not audible. I think it's, yeah.
Hello, am I audible? Okay. So from the three A's that we are talking about, there's a lot of things happening on the ground. Okay, there are different governments that are creating different stacks, like the agri stack, the digital forest stack, the digital water stack. So this will ensure that we create a platform of information that citizens can access. 5G and IoT, there's a lot of things happening. Like for example, a farmer, previously a soil testing would be like take a sample of soil, send it to a lab somewhere, get the response after a week to figure out what's happening on his farm. Today there's a lot of incubation centers across various engineering colleges, and students are touching upon this concept where they can do mobile kits with which instant real-time testing can be done of the soil, of the water, to understand what kind of nutrition is available in the soil, and therefore input companies are using that information to work with farmers to and help them understand real time in terms of what kind of deficiencies they need to address to improve their productivity on their farms. Okay. In terms of accessibilities, these public RDPIs that we're talking about will help solve for some of that. What we need to also clearly focus on is density of network. For example, today, if you go to a rural area, the network is there, but it is very intermittent, like Bharat Bhai was mentioning earlier. So we need to increase the density so that these IoTs will be able to share information real time. People will be able to access that information and understand, get insights from that and action upon it. So, and that will also create a lot of employment opportunities, because some of these mobile infrastructure that is getting created through various innovations can be in the hands of some of these self-help groups in the village. So that creates employment opportunities as well. So I see a lot of things moving, but I think we need to have a focused attention to improve some of that.
But you think that there are two also important points here. One is the awareness, whether the people at the ground where you want to reach out to, whether they are aware of the things which are available. And second thing is, as the first sentence from him came, that whether the information which is coming to him is right for him, whether the truth is coming to him, whether the filtered information should be coming to him, whether that is a possibility at the moment, or we are still, it is unexplored and we have a long way to go into it.
Information is available. For example, when we talk about farmers, there are eKCC platforms that NABARD has created for farmers to access financial capital and information. Governments also have their agricultural platform. So information is available, but I think there's a lot that we need to do, kind of improve the effectiveness of some of these platforms for people to kind of validate information that they're getting is accurate or not. So there is a lot of opportunity for us to improve on that.
And Bharat Bhai, what role government can play in whether the information is right for him, or whether the information is correct for him, whether no fake information or the filtered information at least comes to him? How can government help us?
Bhavesh Bhai, you rightly said, government is doing their part. A lot of things are happening. from government initiatives. Lot of advertisement, lot of awareness is happening. But as Kartik Bhai said, ki every state is different, every region is different. So government needs to have those customizable approach to the information. For example, as rightly has given example, like Jammu में जो हो रहा है and what is Gujarat is saying, we should have a different approach. And government is doing that. It's nobody has thought on that कि कैसे होना है. But they are doing that, and very interesting time ahead. And I would say there will be a solution. Yes, we are doing something. 20-30% we have reached. So with next 2-3 years, we will have a different approach, and solutions will be there.
Assocham had recently done a study, an interesting study on technologies available to agriculture and specifically farmers living in rural areas. And what they have found is that the 86% of the small and marginal farmers at the moment doesn't have access to the technology. So we are saying that it is available, we are saying that it is accessible, but the ground reality is different. So how are we going to play a role in this? I'm asking this question to everyone. How can we improve this accessibility? I think we can start with Kartikeya first.
Yeah, my feeling is that for every there's so many new technologies, and for every small farmer or livestock person or something to have that knowledge is too much to expect. But what I'm seeing perhaps emerging is at the village level or at the cluster of village level, service providers who have the technology and who will do the last mile, the connectivity. So when I want a particular service for my village, how do I use it? There might be a person who is known, who is still in the village. If something goes wrong, I can still catch hold of him. But that service will be provided. Something like the way tractors and many other things are provided today to small farmers who cannot afford it. There's someone who comes and plows it. So, and you pay for it. So I see that there's a scope for a number of new jobs or enterprises in villages. And this answers also your previous question a little bit, that I think government can support the creation of these micro service providers, if you like, who will be local, who will be known, and there'll be a face to it. So my 5G is 5G plus a face.
That you want to say, Eden? Yeah.
Just to add
Please
to
continue.
what Kartik Bhai said. So I will give you some example like AgriStack. So AgriStack, I think many of us you will know, but I will repeat myself. So AgriStack is capturing 3 information. It's farmer, your farmer's land holding, and the crop pattern. And let's suppose 13 crore farmers ka data hai with AgriStack. And mostly government is going to give this data with, of course, with certain security measures. They will give it to the entrepreneurs. So the young entrepreneur can build the solutions on that. For example, if I can see next 5 years, 10 years, before farmers go for any new crop, okay, he can see the data. In last 5 years, the same crop has yielded in how much profit other farmers have earned. So many things I can see in near future. Of course, the internet will be more stable, the solutions will be there, and those solutions will help the needed one.
So if we are talking about a possible solution, that's a hypothetical question. Tejas by you and Jacob sir, you will be a better person to answer that. What type of life of farmer's life, in what way the farmer's life is going to change, say, using these technologies? Whether he'll have a better productivity out of what he is growing there, whether we'll have a better way to manage his field, how it is going to, and at the same time, how his health requirements is going to change using this technology.
I see this whole space evolving and evolving fairly rapidly. On one extent, you have the government working towards creating these various digital platforms, these different digital stacks that's making information available. There is also something, so for example, when we say farmers, most of our policies and our programs are addressed towards people who own land and till that land. But what about, but the majority of the farmers who are actually working are people who don't own the land, tenant farmers. So understanding, acknowledging that and creating policies that will recognize that community as well is very important. So we will have to do some policy changes that helps us understand and bring in some of those communities into the mainstream. Tribal farmers who live off, natural forest products. Okay, they don't have land, and they also don't do farming as such, but they go find natural honey from the forest, natural herbal products, and bring it to the mainstream. So we will have to acknowledge some of that and create a policy framework, create programs that address and acknowledge some of that. With 5G and IoT, a lot of information becomes accessible real time. So therefore, I see an entire circular economy building around this community of farmers. For example, banks will start focusing on how they can lend, not just lend money, but purpose-focused lending for starting the farm, for upgrading the farm, etc. Or getting the best, seed quality, etc. We will also see ag input companies focusing on specific areas for specific crops. We will start seeing a lot of IoT-based sensors which will give real-time information on at this time of the year for this type of area, for this type of soil, what's the best crop that is there. We will also see commodity traders kind of building a circular supply chain around these farmers to reduce the buffer stock they need to maintain for their procurement requirements. So I see the whole economy kind of becoming a micro circular economy focused on this farming community. And I think that is what will help
packs and the SHGs, they can connect with the service providers and they can extend their services to that rural area. So by that themselves, they can generate the employment. At the same time, they can also enable or increasing the resource or availability to that particular villages. So they are not they should not motivated to go to the urban part and just do any kind of labor work. I'll give you a simple example. Like I was working as an advisory for NDDB gas plant, which is now taken by the Maruti. So in the Munchkuva, we have done a very small pilot where the tenant farmer, specifically for the tenant farmer, where they do not have a land, but they can have the cattle and they can what you can say, they can do the dairy farming. But again, the dairy farming is one of their a part of the stuff. Through the technology, what we have done, we have invented a simple kind of slurry-based mechanism. So they collect the cow dung, make it into the slurry, adds few bioenzymes into it, that converts into the gas. That gas has been used by their own by their own house as a cooking, and the slurry, the NDDB is collecting that slurry on a 1 liter per 1 rupees per liter or 2 rupees per liter as per the values of the thickness of the slurry. Now that all things is only going to be happen by the means of technology. Like I should know what kind of generation is coming from that particular kind of a biogas plant, what kind of slurry is coming from that stuff, and by enabling the FPO packs and SSGs for this kind of activity, it massively increase I should say the living standard as well as the their income through the kind of technology which we are talking about today.
So ultimately, primary agriculture credit societies or the cooperative societies or the dairies from where the farmers or the cattle growers are connected, are they going to be the last point connectivity, or their role will also change, or their role will also evolve over a period of time, Bharat Bhai?
So change is constant. So I would say with changing technologies, 5G, IoT, and the infrastructure which is getting upgraded now and then. So I would say the role will be the same, but the approach to the customer, the endpoints will change. We will have a PACS or primary agricultural society, but they will have the availability of latest technologies, then I would say accessibility, and the end dissemination of the scheme of the money. Okay, they will use the technology, and I would say next 5 years are very, very interesting as per the overall the push from government of India, states. So very interesting times ahead.
So I'm going to ask this question to Jacob sir because he'll be a better person to answer. In your experience of using that satellite technology and using the soil fertility technology, have you ever seen anything which you think that the farmers were growing a wrong crop there or not using the nutrient value of the soil or something like that? Because I think farmers have a domain knowledge of what they are doing and they know their soil better than I think all of us what we are discussing here today. So have you ever come across that kind of a, because we are ultimately going to tell them that please grow this particular crop, please water this particular crop in this method or use this fertilizer. Are we in a position to do that?
Sir, in India, farmer knows everything because they have been doing this forever. And the day we acknowledge and respect that, as a country, we will go to the next level. Now, there is a fundamental difference that we see here. For example, our entire agricultural financial system is built on trust and self-declaration. Okay, so just to get a sense of how that process works, I would, if I'm a farmer, I would go to the local tehsil office, fill out a register saying, this is my land and I'm growing rice over here. Okay. Maybe he does that process once a year or once in 2 years. And that register allows him to get access to all the subsidies and government benefits that are there. So for him, that registration process is important. Okay. This year he grew rice. There was a pestilence. He lost money. Okay. He's not going to wait next season and again grow back rice. He will evaluate whether it makes sense because end of the day, he's one of the smartest business people we have in our economy. Okay. So he will evaluate, and if he realizes rice, I'm not going to succeed this time, let me switch to wheat or soy, he will make that switch. But the problem is the self-registration system is so painful, he's not going to go back and update his system. So our system of record that we have across our entire infrastructure is very outdated or cannot keep up pace. That's one. And again, if the farmer wants to go for funding, the scale of finance is also dependent on the kind of crop that is there. So what we have realized and the change that as SatSure we are trying to drive is bring in spatial intelligence to help people understand what is happening on the ground, which is helping that almost on real-time basis. Because what we do is we pick up the image of the satellite and we are able to kind of use that to identify with the crop that was grown across this season, last season, etc. So we're able to help also banks understand the risk that is there in the farm or the large plantation owners, in terms of the health of their plantation, real time. So they're able to understand that at a portfolio level and therefore make adjustments that are required. And I think that is the change that we have to see that will get more institutionalized. And the revolution in IoT, the revolution in technology will help farmers get access to this information better. There are indices that will help the farmer understand what kind of nutrition is there in his soil and therefore what kind of uptick is required in terms of how much fertilizer he needs to consume. So there are various studies that have said that if the farmer is able to adjust his fertilizer consumption based on the actual consumption that's happening on the ground, he'll be able to reduce his input cost by almost 30 to 40%. Okay, which means there's a lot less pollution or seepage of all those chemicals into the groundwater. So I think there's a lot of work that we need to do in terms of understanding the ground reality and calibrating it.
So Kartikeya bhai, I'll start with you. What are your concluding remarks? Where are we? How big an opportunity we are talking about? How big a change we are talking about? What are your thoughts?
Just a few thoughts to add to this. One is I think we need 5G literacy. Just like we had a literacy drive that everyone needs to write. With this opportunity, if we don't have a major effort at creating that literacy, we will miss out on the huge benefits which can happen. So I think that's one mission which needs to be done. I think when we are talking about farmers' wisdom and things, I think it's good that it's there, but there needs to be change also. They are not necessarily, they might be aware of several things, but they are not necessarily aware that that pesticide package which they just picked up what damage it will do to them and to the environment. They are not aware. They are not reading that fine print, and even if you did read the fine print, you would not actually know very much.
Yes.
Huh? So the thing is that you are in the process of wanting change. In all the villages which we are working, we've been able to increase farmers' incomes by 2x or 3x. But this does require conscious change. And that change, if you say that I want to be more organic, for instance, not necessarily 100%, but I want to go towards more organic thing. I want to care for not only my cotton crop this year, but the status of the soil when it finishes. Then I think it does require that input. And that input is enabled by 5G, but it's an enabler. It's not a standalone solution. And that's what I said earlier, that if you have people in the village, credible picture, people who say, no, you can go ahead with this method, or if you use this, it'll be okay. Because people want evidence. Everyone is not so strong in their own thinking that they will say, okay, I just because I heard it on the internet, I'll go and do it. So I think we are into a new paradigm. We've got a huge opportunity. But that opportunity will go with the 5G literacy. So I would say my final word, one thing would be that we need to create that literacy. The rest is happening. I mean, new apps are coming up, new technology, lots of new developments are happening. But how do it's a Shiva Ganga type of problem that, Ganga can come, but if I don't have anyone to hold it, I can't do anything with it. It'll actually bore a hole.
So, in terms of like, if I'll put the conclude remarks, the thing is that every startup, I should say, let's talk from that perspective. That startup has to go. They have to have dialogues with the FPUs, with the PACs, with the SSGs, and a few other independent farmers as well. They need to understand what kind of problems they can solve for them. See, technology is there, platform is there, availability is already there. The thing is, who will take a stand to sort it out, all those things. And the second thing is that the rural populations, or I should say the youth, should access those kind of incubations which is now available in the district level as well. It's not necessary you need to come to the Ahmedabad or Rajkot or Surat. Like in a small town also, they have a college or the small incubation center. From there they can figure it out how to move forward, and figure out by themselves what would be the necessity for the rural and how I can reduce that gap to move forward.
Jacob, sir, your concluding remarks.
I'll start with the size of the opportunity that you kind of
I
asked
just
me.
wanted to know that. I was coming to that.
So if you have to put a number, my estimate would be there's like a $40 to $50 billion economic opportunity here in terms of solving this problem. And I'll tell you how. We have today the entire system is disjointed, but everybody's trying to solve the problem. If the farmer is more well connected using IoT and 5G, he will optimize his input costs and optimize his decisions in terms of what crops at what time. So therefore, there's a 30 to 40% reduction in his expenditure. Therefore, we will see a higher income rate. We will see a whole new set of jobs because with mobile sensors and technology evolution, there are 6,75,000 villages. Okay, and these farmers do not want somebody sitting 100 kilometers away. They need somebody accessible to them. So think about it like Tejas Vaghela was talking about self-help groups and FPOs. So think about 4 to 10 boys or girls in that village who are technologically enabled and helping them with 5G literacy and bringing some of these apps and making it more accessible to everyone. So there are a lot of job opportunities over there. There will be a circular economic system where banks, ag input companies will all focus on the farmer and refine the way they're solving some of their problems. And like Kartikeya sir was talking about, right chemicals, more organic, more traceable, sustainable. Therefore, if the farmer is able to demonstrate that he's growing basmati rice or a specific niche, kala namak rice, for example, in say Aurangabad, the price he's able to realize for that niche product becomes much better. And the entire system will support that architecture. So we will see all these improvements that will happen. And therefore, I say that there is a $40 to $50 billion opportunity that will be unlocked as we solve this problem.
40 to 50 billion dollars. I think what you are talking about is provisional, probably the additional benefits what you are going to get out, because the amount of investment what you are going to we are talking about is actually 10x than 40 to 50.
Correct, and you're
billion.
talking about multiple different kind of new career roles, new micro enterprises that will come up, that will kind of fuel that economy.
Bharat, your concluding remark.
I will not take much of time. As Tejas Bhai, Kartik Bhai and Jobin Bhai said, I would say there are three things. As Kartik Bhai said, the digital literacy. That is the main thing we have to focus on. Second would be the quality. Quality should be ensured at the start and at the end. And third, it would be the infrastructure. So three things would solve the problem in next 5 to 10 years.
So one word answer for every one of you, whether the rural will be the new urban, the rural population will get the same facility what we are getting in urban, the so-called aspirational facilities or aspirational life what we are getting. Is it possible?
So I would be, earlier we are comparing our rural to urban. It will be other way around now. Next 5 to 10 years, we will be comparing the rural to urban. So everybody wants to shift to rural India instead of that.
To this particular or the solutions or kind of the opportunity into the rural area for this 80% people will solve a lot of tremendous problems, even if including the logistics and a lot of things like the EV industries is booming, right? So why we only think about the EV into the urban area? Why we are not thinking interconnectivity for the villages logistic problems or some basic transportations into the rural area? There is no need to have the utilities into the rural area because there are solar is available, BESS is available, technology is available. So that's the reason like I'm keep emphasizing why more onto the FPO packs and the SHGs, because they need to think out of the blue, out of the box, and not think only and only from the crops perspective. It will be there, it will be sustained there. But in apart from that, like, they also need to have a second and third source of development or kind of income, which is something we can bring them and that can reduce the gap between the urban and rural. So at the end of the day, it will become a very unique. No urban, no rural, everything is available, very unified way to everyone. Yeah, exactly.
So with that, I think we have end of the session. Thank you very much, each one of you, for sharing your thoughts, your insights into the subject. Thank you so much.